Welcome to Horror Stories Fanatics. If you enjoy this type of content, then subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on any of our latest and greatest uploads. Every generation creates its own monsters. Folk tales tell of witches and worms in the woods. TV-infused generations feared Jaws in lakes and Bloody Mary in the mirror. This generation gets its monsters from the internet. Slenderman is a pure product of electronic media. He appears in places that we rarely frequent these days. Abandoned, crumbling halls, deep woods, a playground with a rickety steel jungle gym. He is a suburban ghoul with his own history and his own methodology, and as of late, he has become the object of controversy due to an attack in Wisconsin during which two girls stabbed another in order to appease Slenderman's dark needs. It was a horrible story, and it underlines how little we understand about the psychology of a generation weaned on the internet, and how images can morph from fiction to fact in the course of half a decade. Slenderman's origin is surprisingly clear. Unlike most urban legends, we can trace his provenance with absolute certainty. He was born on June 8, 2009, on a forum site frequented by Photoshop pranksters. He belongs to a guy in Florida named Eric Knudsen, who has a young daughter, and he's surprised, as much as anyone, that his demon hasn't yet been thrown onto the slag heap of forgotten memes. An entire history, an entire corpus has grown up around him in a way that would have been impossible just a decade ago. He is the first pure product of the internet, a demon spawned not out of a specific place, but out of bits. So here's some of his story. Slendy. Slenderman first appeared on the Something Awful forums under a thread titled Create Paranormal Images. One user, Slidebite, said, "You just know that a couple of the good ones are going to eventually make it to paranormal websites and be used as genuine." He was right. The first image of Slenderman, of a tall, out-of-focus figure next to a tree, was accompanied by a bit of text that sounds like the dialogue from a badly translated horror game. That text read, "One of two recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence." And it was credited to 1986 photographer Mary Thomas, missing since June 13th, 1986. And then, other posters added their own interpretations of the material, creating a backstory that stretched out to 16th century Germany and even to 5000 BC. The creator, Victor Surge, added a few more photos, while other visitors created their own. One particularly clever image is a modified woodcut. In the original, a skeleton takes a child from its parents, perhaps into death. In the modified version, the skeleton has long arms and legs, and its misshapen skull is hidden by the eaves of the house. Over the intervening months, Something Awful posters and fan fiction enthusiasts added to the corpus. He gained a specific definition, courtesy of a poster on Yahoo Answers in 2011, 2 years after the original posts. The Slender Man is a supernatural creature that is described as appearing as a normal human being, but he is described as being 8 feet tall, and he has vectors, or extra appendages, that are described to be as sharp as swords. This creature is known to stalk humans and cause many disappearances. He is described as a shadow creature that is missing a face. The creature fits into many mythologies and legends from nations such as Germany and the Celts, which brings up the possibility that he could be real. A man named Victor Surge found this legend and he made his own version of it, which he called Slenderman. The Slenderman is not exactly evil according to mythology, but Victor Surge's version shows him as an evil creature that stalks humans to kill. In mythology, he was actually trying to save you from a painful death by taking you to the underworld early. But Slenderman is a product of this century. He appears and havoc follows. He murders in undescribed ways, or he compels others to murder. He is a dark god in an age of digital media, and he fills the empty place between the news and the unknown. Interestingly, Slenderman was born of the previous generation's boogeyman. Here's an excerpt from a long interview with Slenderman's creator, Knudsen, aka Victor Surge. I was mostly influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, specifically his short stories, the surreal imaginings of William S. Burroughs, and a couple games of the survival horror genre like Silent Hill and Resident Evil. I feel the most direct influences were Zach Parsons' That Insidious Beast, the Stephen King short story The Mist, the Something Awful tale regarding The Rake, reports of so-called shadow people, Mothman, and the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. I use these to formulate something whose motivations can barely be comprehended and causes general unease and terror in a general population. The key word there is terror. Slenderman does not directly kill his victims. Instead, he encourages others to in order to please him. Interestingly, the places he haunts are all but gone now. Thanks to breathless news coverage of murder and mayhem, children are rarely allowed to wander in woods alone or play in abandoned buildings. In fact, that he exists at all is a testament to the eerie pull of these places. He's the ghost in the parking lot patrolled by bored guards and CCTV cameras. He's the story that keeps you up at night. In the center of a city full of 8 million people, he's not Osama bin Laden or your father's PTSD, but is instead something far easier to understand. In a world that no longer harbors nameless dread, in which every monster has a name and GPS coordinates, he is a welcome refuge into the imagination. One popular video game created around the mythos involves walking through a darkened forest surrounded by a chain link fence. All you have to do is find 8 pieces of paper tacked to nearby trees. As you find the papers, the buzzing of crickets and the rustling of the photorealistic trees changes to a steady pounding. Slenderman is afoot. He doesn't kill you. You simply disappear in a cloud of electronic snow. Forums and video series were filled with fan fiction and content. The quality varies widely, but it has grown oddly popular. One popular web series, Marble Hornets, is described as found footage of a man haunted by Slenderman. Most of the footage is mundane B-roll of woods and country roads. Then, every so often, Slenderman appears by fuzzing out of the screen or pushing one of the characters into a violent coughing fit. There are no demons screaming "gotcha." Instead, you get an endless, nameless dread. One Reddit fan, MLPTTM, wrote, "I like him because most creepypastas try to scare you with blood, with gore, and if you're lucky, hyper-realistic blood. But Slenderman scared me with psychological horror, making me scared of fields, trees, and sometimes nothing. He has made me as paranoid as I've been in my life, and I love the thrill. His design is simple and terrifying because it can make him visible in a field or invisible in a forest. His humanoid figure makes him seem real, like him stalking you can actually happen. I think the biggest thing that makes him interesting is that nobody has any full idea what happens when he gets you." And another poster said they liked Slenderman because he was relentless. Slender hunts you, but he doesn't bang on your door, claw at your walls, or howl at the moon. He's just there, standing, waiting in the corner of your eyes. It's bogus, you know it. You're just seeing things because you're tired as shit, or it's Jake pulling your leg. Then it gets real. You have to get away, despite your best efforts. Slender is still there, always standing, always waiting, always watching. Sadly, Slenderman has also taken on a life of his own. And with that, we've reached the end of this video all about the story of Slenderman and what he does to his victims. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.